Yair Lapid is chairman of the Yesh Atid party and a former Israeli finance minister. Mr. Lapid joins me now from Tel Aviv. Good evening, sir. The Prime Minister says it's an immoral decision, but the Europeans know Israel's position, and the Europeans still say that it is illegal territories, and therefore that the goods cannot be labelled made in Israel. It's as simple as that.
Well, first of all, after 2 months of Jews being stabbed in the streets of Israel, the EU has decided it's time to reward the terrorists and not the victims with this decision. This is not a legal issue. This is not a PR issue. This is political. This is them trying to bend our arm. And you know what? They're not even doing it the proper way, because it's a bad decision all along. First, they included in the decision the Golan Heights. There's not a single Palestinian living in the Golan Heights. And you know what? Let's presume that Israel has decided to give back the Golan Heights as demanded. Whom are we going to give it back to? To ISIS, which are on our border, to Hezbollah, or to Jabhat al-Nusra, which is an affiliation of Al-Qaeda? This doesn't make any sense.
Well, the European Union ambassador to Israel told CNN the EU is not boycotting Israeli products. It just wants their origin to be clearly displayed. Have a listen to what he said, sir.
I would like to very clearly state that the European Union is against boycotts, against isolation of Israel and any form of sanctions. And I think this interpretive notice that we have just introduced today is exactly the opposite. Obviously, it has nothing to do with a boycott, since the products from the settlements are still welcome on the European market as they have been before. The only requirement is now that they have to be under the correct indication of origin of the products.
Isn't that the point? The products are not being boycotted. You can still send as many products as you like from those places. The Europeans just say they require what they believe is a more honest labelling.
Well, you know, it's interesting. What can you do with somebody who's taking up positions against you, and when you are telling him there's something wrong with it, he's saying, you know what, it's not a real position and it's not really against you. This is operated by the BDS movement, the Boycott Israel movement, that has been demanding this from the EU for a long, long time, and now in a terrible, terrible timing got what they wanted. And the fact that they are pretending this is only a technical issue, you know what, let's say they're trying to push Israel into negotiations. The negotiations would be about what are the borders of the future Israel and the future Palestine. Now they predetermined what are the borders, and now they say now you have to go into negotiation of something we have already decided for you. This is patronizing. This is trying to create a reality while bending our arm, and while doing all that, they pretend this is not what they're doing. This is what they're doing. Enough with the hypocrisy. This is the EU hypocrisy, trying to tell us how to run our country. Can you imagine a situation in which the United States will say you cannot put a Made in USA labels on anything coming from Texas just because Texas used to be part of Mexico?
But do you think, I mean, I'm not sure I fully go along with your point on that, but do you think that it helps Israel's cause or claim in this when you sort of inflame the tensions by talking about labelling as with yellow stars before the Second World War and making parallels and analogies to Nazism? Do you think that helps in any way, or does it just simply turn it against you?
No. No, this is bad enough without any comparisons to the Holocaust. I've said here publicly that I'm against this because the Holocaust was a different planet and nothing should be compared to the Holocaust. It is an event that is unparalleled to anything. But this doesn't make it any better. It's just bad as it is because it's hypocrite, because it's not useful, because it's technically wrong, and because it's patronizing in ways that are beyond description. You know what? It's part of a whole movement. I'll give you an example. In the United Nations, next to where you're staying right now, in the United Nations, there's the UN Civil Rights Council. Since 2006, there were 62 resolutions which were anti-Israeli in the United Nations Human Rights Council. This is more than the resolutions they had about the entire world combined. And then they tell us, no, it's not biased. No, it's not against you. This is us trying to make sure you understand our point. No, we do understand our point, but we are a sovereign country and we'll make our own decisions by ourselves.
Finally, do you believe this has any long-term economic damage, or is it, as you've alluded to earlier, symbolic damage?
Well, I think it has some economical damage. The export coming from the territories is approximately 1% of the entire Israeli export. So it's not a blow to the Israeli economy. And you know what? There are a lot of good Jews out there who will buy from the territories on purpose now, trying to make a point, and they have a point. And I want to say one more thing. I'm not part of the Israeli government. I'm part of the opposition right now. And I am all for the two-state solution. I've been pushing for it for a long, long time. And yet I am telling you, this move of the EU is just wrong.
Sir, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time tonight, late in the evening, joining us from Tel Aviv. It's kind of you to join us.
Thank you, Richard.